thank you for being here with us. This is beautiful movie that you just finished seeing. Me too, that I'm still moved. And just to start the conversation with our movie, I would like to know how this, this film that in a way is the same, like the other ones in your film movie, but is something different because it's all shot in Italy. How it came to you to do it.
امیدوارم خیلی خسته نشده باشین از فیلم و تشخیص اینکه این فیلم شبیه فیلم‌های قبلی من هست یا نه برای خودم کمی دشواره. طبیعتاً میباید که ادامه فیلم‌های قبلی من باشه اگر شما دیده باشین.
Good evening, all of you. First of all, I hope that the film hasn't tired you too much and you're still fit for the discussion. Whether there is a continuity between this film and my former films, it's still a bit hard for myself to judge. But I guess if you can see something, it must be right.
صادقانه بگم که خیلی به فیلم نزدیکم. انقدر نزدیکم که نمیتونم قضاوت کنم. نمیدونم واقعا هنوز فیلم خوبیه یا نه.
Honestly, right now I'm still too close to the film. I feel a bit short-sighted. I don't have enough distance to be able to see it. And I think it's the same for all directors. You need to take some distance to be able to see your film as an object in itself. So if you tend to tell me that it's a good film, I would believe you. But also if you say that it was a bad film and you didn't like it, I would also believe you, maybe more even. So for the moment, I just feel like a cook who's not able to feel the taste of what he's cooked because it's too fresh. For the moment, my look on the film is very technique. I look at it as a technician.
Do you have do you feel any relation with the Voyage in Italy of Rossellini?
این بعد از که فیلم تموم شد مطمئنم که تحت تاثیر این فیلم بودم در زمانهای دور که دیدمش.
Yes, it's been said a couple of times, but only after the film was made. And retrospectively, I had to acknowledge myself that I was influenced by this film in my early years. When I went to see films, this was among those that I was really impressed by. And I think that this is again the case of all directors. You are deeply influenced and you find your inspirations in the films that have an impact on you, but also from your own life and from the life of people around you. So this is something that is inevitable. But I wouldn't say that this film has a direct link with Viaggio in Italia in the way that it's not a copy of it in any way, but this film has had an impact on me earlier.
I'd like to thank Mr. Kiarostami because I think his film is a wonderful film. I even think it is a masterpiece. So thanks, first of all, thank you. I have a very simple question, is that why did you choose to make the film outside of Iran and with foreign actors?
دو سه تا شرایط در کنار هم قرار گرفتن این اتفاق افتاد. یکیش کوچیک
There were different circumstances that happened all together.
یکیش قرار بود با جولیت کار کنم سالهای دور. قرار بود با هم یه فیلم کار کنیم و دنبال یه موقعیت میگشتم.
First of all, for years we had been talking with Juliette Binoche about the idea of making a film together, and I was still in search of the appropriate story for that.
دوم شرایط ایران خیلی دلپذیر نبود برای ساخت فیلم. بنابراین یه فرصتی بود برای من برای اینکه یک فیلم رو در شرایط راحت‌تری کنم.
Secondly, at the moment we shot this film, the situation wasn't very easy in Iran for filmmakers. So it was an opportunity for me for going on working out of my country. But the most important was the fact that I was given the opportunity of something that I love, which is the idea of trying something new, of a new experimentation. Going out of my country, working with people from a different culture, in different languages, and having the confirmation of my intuition, which is that there are more similarities between human beings across cultures and across languages than differences. And at the moment that I wrote the script, I still had this worry. I wasn't quite sure if I was able to really embody the kind of relationship that would be natural between an English writer, a French woman living in Italy, and having this very European background. But from the moment it was sent to my friend, it was translated and sent to Juliette Binoche, to some non-Farsi speaking colleagues of mine like Martin Scorsese, to the producer. They read it and they gave me their feedback. I saw that actually nobody notices any cultural mistake in it, no misunderstanding. And now that the film is here and you European audience come and see it, I think that you can completely ignore my name and consider that the film has been made by an English or a French or a Spanish or a Portuguese director. So this again confirms my idea that we do have a lot in common.
I can see here, if I might say, a very special relationship between women and copies and repetition. What kind of relationship do you see between these three things? I mean, women and repetition and copies.
من کی همچی تشبیه کردم؟
Did I ever make a relation between women and copies?
هیچ یادم نمیاد.
Not that I remember.
حالا من این سوال از شما میکنم. چرا فکر کردی که یک زن یک کپیه؟
So I ask you back this question. Why do you think there is a relationship between women and copies?
Well, because every time we see this Binoche acting like she went with the man to see the copies, the pictures, the portraits, and then she wants to repeat something of her past.
نه تکرار تفاوت داره با کپی به نظر من.
Repetition is a different story. I think that's the story of our lives, all of all. We keep repeating, and it doesn't mean that we believe in copies or we believe that we are copies ourselves.
چطور میتونید انقدر همه حقایق رو به این سادگی و زیبایی بیان کنید؟
همه حقایق رو؟
حقایقی که میبینیم توی فیلماتون.
Okay, my question is, how can you show all the truth of life in such an easy and simple way?
خیلی ممنون. سعی کردم که بیان بکنم و برای بیانش سعی کردم که نگاه بکنم. به هر حال تجربه نزدیک به 70 سال.
I try and get close to the truth. I try and have the right way of looking. I think that might be the only privilege of living almost 70 years and spending 70 years trying to look at things and look at people and look at life in the right way. So I guess this is once that you choose this craft, which is mine, the craft of art, you'd better have the curiosity and the sensibility to be able to find the proper way of looking at things. So I try and get closer to truth. If I manage, I'm very happy. And if you say that I do it in a simple way, I'm all the happier.
Hey, سلام حال شما خوبه؟ می‌خواستم بپرسم ببینم این فیلم هم در مثل فیلم‌های قبلی شما در ایران پخش میشه یا نمیشه؟ میتونم اجازه بدم پخش کنین؟
So I want to know if this film is going to be released in Iran comparing to your former films.
بله پخش میشه ولی در بازار سیاه تو سینما نه شانس نمایش نداره ولی همین هفته که می اومدم
Well, my film is shown in Iran but it's not released in theaters. It's been banned so it won't be in theaters but it is released if you want to use this word through the black market. So last week when I was home I saw that the DVDs were everywhere and you can buy it for less than €1. So less than a ticket to go to a theater.
آره 20 سال پیش بلک مارکت برای ما چه لغت وحشتناکی بود. همه دنبال این میگشتیم که چجوری نابودش کنیم ولی حالا قلباً
So 20 years ago we used to see black market as an enemy, as a monster that we had to fight. And now for us directors it's become our best friend because it's through them, through the black market that we can reach our audience.
Usually, or in many of your films, you develop the script while you are shooting the film. Now, how was it in this film? You had, as you just told us, you had an idea, you put it on paper, and you sent it to other people. But did the final shooting came down with new ideas? Did you change your original plot? How did that happen?
درست میگین فیلم‌های قبلی من در شرایط متفاوتی فیلم برداری میشد برای اینکه تهیه کننده فیلمام غالبا خودم بودم و خودم به عنوان تهیه کننده زیاد سختگیری نمی‌کردم به خودم به عنوان کارگردان.
Well, this is right, that this time the conditions were quite different from what I was used to. First of all, because in my former films, I was my own producer. And as my own producer, I was quite indulgent to myself as a director. And I accepted just to come on the spot and decide daily what I was going to do. Whereas this time, I was engaged in a different kind of project with a professional crew, with a producer, with a budget which had nothing to do with my former budget. So I had to commit myself to something more rigid, more written. And actually, I had to stick to it. And finally, the final product that you can see on the screen is not that different from what was originally written.
I'm a finalist student of a master in clinical psychology. And I'm doing my thesis about the reception of the cinematographic piece by the spectator. And I'm going to analyze a work of yours, the short film, Where is My Romeo? I saw Shireen, and I read about its filmmaking process in an interview that you gave to a Portuguese newspaper. My question is, did you use the same process to construct Shireen and Where is My Romeo? Because the product seems to be the same. Sorry, but after this, I would like to ask you an autograph to integrate in my thesis, if that is possible.
My answer will be much shorter than your question.
آره من همونجوری درست کردم که رومئو رو
I made Romeo the same way as Shirin.
در واقع رومئو یه بخشی از شیرین.
I can say that Romeo was nothing but a part of Shirin.
رومئو کوتاه بود، راضیم نکرد، بلندش کردم.
Romeo was too short to my taste, so I made it longer and made Shirin.
Being an universal theme, still it's being directed by you as an Iranian, and it has an international cast with a British actor, a French actress, and it's shot in Italy. So I was curious to understand how you managed to overcome any obstacles that the different languages might have imposed into directing the actors in such a beautiful way that the film comes into the spectator in a very natural form of emotional insight.
داشتیم فیلم برداری می‌کردیم، مثل که از قبل برام مشخص بود که مسئله زبان مسئله زیاد مهمی نیست و میتونم حلش بکنم.
Your question is a good one and it's legitimate, but I have to confess that from the very beginning I had no worries about the language barrier. I knew that I would overcome it.
چون قبلا این تجربه رو داشتم، فیلم‌ها رو به زبان ایرانی گرفتم ولی به زبان فارسی، ولی شما از طریق زیرنویس ترجمه کردیم و شما فهمیدین.
So after all, I've been used to making films in my mother tongue, in Farsi, and you would still get them and see them through translation. The film were subtitled, and translation helped you understanding and seeing and sometimes appreciating the film. And here it was the same process. It was going to go through translation, just that this phase was on an earlier stage. It wasn't once the film was made, but it was made on the stage between the script and the shooting itself. And it was done by the same person, Masume, who's sitting next to me and who's translating what I say now. And I knew that she could take care of the language issue. So she was responsible of the language of the film, and I was there during the shooting, and I would just focus on the reactions and on the expression of the faces of my actors, and that's the way it worked. Well, if you want to know about my relationship with Luca Bigatti, the DP, there is the making of a film about the backstage, which is on the DVD, so hopefully if the DVD comes out in Portugal, you will see. And Irene Ufo, who's the person who found the location of the village in which we shot, is also the person who directed this film, about the film, and in which there is a very detailed description and interviews and also images of this relationship that gradually happened between Luca and me. It was very difficult at the beginning, but the beginning was very short. It was only 1 week during which there was a total misunderstanding. I think he was a bit disconcerted by my way of working. And he would never complain to me. I had no idea, but he went to see Juliette and said, I wonder how we're going to finish this film. I wonder how, if I'll be patient enough to go on until the end, because the way he works, he respects no rule of cinema. And I just don't know how to adapt to his ways of doing. And once the shooting was over, he went to Juliette again and said, now that I've had this experience, I don't know how to go back with other directors and work in the rules of usual cinema, because the way that I work with him is so much more natural, so much more human, and so interesting for me. It was such a discovery, and I don't know how to look it and how to adapt to what I used to do before. I would never have told this story if it wasn't in the film, because it would have been taken as if I was giving a compliment to myself, which I would never have dared to do.
I saw you always play a bit with the perception of reality of the viewer, and leaving always a bit of a question about if it's real, if it's not. In the more documentary like ones, this happens more, but in this we also end up with this question. Like if you could elaborate a bit on that. And I would also like to know, because I'm a film student, and I could not imagine what it would be like if a movie I made would be banned in my country, and if you could also explain a bit on that subject.
I'll start with your second question, just by saying that I feel empathy for how you feel. I can understand that it might seem terrible, but at the same time, I must reassure you and tell you that the great thing about being a human being is that you adapt to everything and you get used to it. So the first time, 12 years ago, that my film was banned in my country, I lived it as a tragedy. I thought my craft is lost for me. If not myself, at least I've lost my craft and my profession. And now, no, we're still surviving, and I'm still making films. I get opportunities to make films elsewhere, and thanks to the black market, as I said, even the audience in my country can see my film. So I can understand. I hope that this will never happen to you. That's all I wish to you as a future film director. But don't worry, it's not that bad. And I just want to translate what Paolo said, because maybe you didn't hear him. He said it was the last question, so be patient, it will soon be over. And your third question is a question that I hear as a question about something that I do care a lot about, which is the place of the spectator, the viewer. I have always felt a lot of respect for the creative mind of the spectator, and I have always considered that they have an active role to play in watching a film. It's not because I have occupied the chair of the creator that they are just supposed to consume my creation, and I cannot consider that I have all the information, all the knowledge, all the awareness, and I'm just here to deliver it and the other to receive it. I have one chair, just like now when I'm sitting here, and in front of me there are a great number of other chairs of people who are there and who are also playing a role with this film and in this film. So we happen to be film directors by accident. Not that we don't have the desire or we don't have the talent, but it's nothing but an accident. And you happen to be the viewers by accident. But we all have, we're not that different, and we all have our views, our feelings, our way of entering the film. So I lead one part, I create one part, but I always trust in your part of creation to complete the idea of the film and the image that you keep from the film.